everyone, this is Ting from Ting Yuan Art. Thank you for joining me. Now today I want to talk to you about how to develop your own style in your artwork. Now as you know, if you know me well, is that I move around a lot. Sorry, the light is a little odd today, but you'll know why it's set up this way eventually, because I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you my fashion illustrations, okay? So as you know, I move around a lot and I have this curiosity of trying new towns, and so I just move my gallery along with me. And every time I move, I find that someone would say to me, "Oh, I've seen your art before. I know exactly where I've seen it," and they would name the places they have seen it. And the reason why that happens to me is because I have a very distinctive style. It's the way that I paint. My figurative art, I paint about meaningful figurative art, and it's the way I paint. Like, my figures are very elongated and my lines are very stylized. Textures are very patternly and the colors are very rich. So because of this, I have developed a certain style that continues throughout my series. Now, to show an example what I mean, I'll show you two of my artwork. So for instance, this, right? As you can see, the stylized line, the elongated figure, and the very rich colors. And here's another one. The stylized line, the rich colors, and the elongated figures. As you can see, her legs are super long. So that is not a normal woman anatomy. Now, I developed this style is because I was, when I was 19, I was really interested in doing fashion, right? I wanted to be a fashion designer. So at that time, I was already doing a lot of fashion sketching. But my figures were not as developed. They were, more straightforward, not as stylized. They were long, but not as stylized and elongated as they have developed into. So I started taking a fashion illustration course. It's a 3-month course, and it's once a week. I'll go in there and practice my fashion illustration. And it was a lot of fun because fashion illustration is all about elongating the figure, right? The woman's anatomy. And it's about being very stylized and how to showcase the texture so that it's very interesting. I'm going to go through this fashion illustration portfolio with you. And this is the first time I've shown you this portfolio. And it's been a long time since I've looked at it. I just opened it and it's quite interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around, okay? Just a second here. Okay, now I'm going to flip the camera around. All right. So these illustrations actually came from 1992. So that was about 30 years ago. So this was in the 1992. So it's in the 90s. So the fashion at that time, okay, was very interesting. I loved it. I was so interested in fashion. I remember I used to buy a lot of magazines, fashion magazines. As you can see, the stylized line has developed and the elongated body as well. My signature hasn't changed much. Here's another one. Some of this fashion I designed it myself, and some of them I got it from Vogue magazines. As I mentioned, that I used to purchase all the fashion magazines every single month. I love this one. This one is done in ink, and the texture is quite elaborate. This one is my own design. And but when I was in fashion school, so after my fashion illustration, I actually went to a fashion school in Calgary. But I was not good at sewing. So my teachers were all telling me, "You're an artist. You are definitely not." Well, they didn't say I wasn't a designer. I'm just not a good sewer. So as being a designer, you have to be good at construction as well. And I wasn't good at that. This is actually a little picture that I did with charcoals, and that was when I was very interested in Matisse artwork. So that's Nude Study, And as you can see, it was very simple. It's simplistic. And the style at that time is different from what I have developed into. And this is another fashion illustration I did. This one is one of my own fashion idea. And I guess I should be the costume designer because my designs seem to be quite elaborate. This one is done in color pencils. And you can see all the texture there. And then you can see the little shoes, which have little rings on it. It looks very African inspired, isn't it? It's different. So if you look at my artwork now, you can see that the stylized line, the elongated body, the legs are so long. There's no normal body that looks like this, right? And then there's my signature, which is very similar, hasn't changed. And then this one over here is another one. And this one, I was exploring the idea of just using one part of the outfit and emphasizing on the texture only on a particular area so that it's not completely covered by the texture, so it's more interesting as well. Whereas I find if I would have, done all the checkered look, I don't think this illustration would be as interesting because illustrations, fashion illustration especially, is very stylized and it's about simplicity of lines. This is a piece I did. It's a charcoal and I was inspired by Matisse then. And I actually did a copy of that and gave it to my mom. Now this is a project I did in school and I did it with my friend Christine. That we teamed up and did one that's inspired by Japanese fashion, very block shapes, simplicity, and it was all made of linen. And sad to say, I have actually destroyed a lot of the linen fabric because I was such a bad sewer, but it was an interesting project because my friend Christine and I did this together and I did the illustrations. She did a lot of the sewing part, but not the ones I did. The ones I did, I basically ruined the linen. And I remember my fashion teacher used to tell me, oh no, not another beautiful fabric and you're ruining it. And here we are. We have more stylized picture. Look how long her legs are. Super long legs. These are 1991 actually. So this is 1991. And this is another one. This is 1991 as well. This one, I remember this one really well because this was actually a picture from Vogue magazine. And I actually took the picture and, copied it. I copied it. It was interesting because her hair was all, flowy. And I did this with color pencils. This one too. Look how long her legs are. My goodness, if we have such long legs, wow. It would be I think it would be quite challenging to have such long legs because where would you put them? And I also did this line here, right? So it shows the stylized line, the curvilineas, and emphasis on the curvilinear lines. Love these ones. These are colored charcoals. And I also put water on it so that it kind of smeared. Love the richness of the colors. And this one. These are the pencil drawings that I did. 1991 August. Over here. I remember at that time in the 90s, it was very inspiring to see models that are actually not overly skinny. They were more athletic looking. They had muscles and they looked fantastic, very healthy looking. And then this one is very, very stylish. There's another one over here. These are pencil drawings. I was pretty good at pencil drawing, but I haven't done a lot of pencil drawings for a long time. So as you know, when you don't practice something, you're not as good at it anymore. You just need more patience and working at it, working through the problems. See, this is one of the fashion model that I was really inspired by. I don't remember her name, but she was very muscular, and I love her muscle tones, and this was such a good action piece. And there's this girl as well. Okay, and this is a completely different one. This is actually a collage. Now I'm going to turn it around again, and I'll talk to you about how to develop your own distinctive style as an artist, okay? Okay, now I think the best thing to do when you want to develop your own style, to have a certain style in your artwork, which is very important because you want people to be able to recognize your work anywhere they are. And when they look at your work, they say, oh, that's a Ting, or that's, Amy's work, right? There's got to be something about your work that's different from everybody's. So I want you to look at the series of your work and pick out from each series what is so different about it. Is it your texture? Is it your line work? Is it the colors that you use? And when you find that distinctive style from each piece, take that distinctive style and develop it. It's not something you can actually read a book about, because finding your own style is actually about self-exploration. So what you need to do is just keep developing that uniqueness and make it your own voice, okay? And I know you can do it because it's all about having an observation, being observant, looking at all your pieces, looking at all your series, pick out the best. When you pick out the best, that's very uniquely yours, develop that. I know a lot of artists that have their own very distinctive style, and it's hard to copy when you have a distinctive style. So this way, your art will always remain unique, and that's a very important part of being an artist. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and I shall see you next week, and we'll talk about something else that's about art and something inspiring. Have a wonderful weekend.